Welcome to the Afterspin, opinions from thought leaders in our state. I want to ask Rufus, Edmisten, and Peg O'Connell. There are many who believe that last year's experiment with virtual learning resulted in most of our public school students essentially losing a third of the school year. To find out whether or not this is the case, our educators want to give standardized end-of-grade tests. Now, the question is, should they be in person or virtual? Our State Board of Education is asking for federal waivers not to hold schools accountable if large numbers of students opt out of the exams. What do you think of that, and what do you think how important these tests are, Peg?
Well, I think what we need to do is take some baseline measurement of where our kids are in the school year, and they can contrast that to where they were last year. I don't think that they should bring them in person. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, if they're able to do all this schoolwork, whether it's good or bad, remotely, then it only makes sense that they would do these end of grade tests remotely. We're coming into the peak of the contamination and the communicability of COVID. Bringing kids in that have not been in school doesn't make any sense to me. And then I will say, because I was always horrible at standardized tests.
Me too.
As soon as anybody gets talking about it, makes my stomach hurt.
I'm sick that day. Rufus, so far as it goes, though, if in fact we're going to give these tests, and I agree with Peg, I think we need to have some sort of baseline of finding out just exactly. If we don't trust virtual learning to start off with, why give end-of-grade tests virtually? Why not go back to the classroom and give them?
Well, as an old third grade teacher, I am a great believer in in-person learning. And I did read something in the paper today, Tom, that said that the COVID is much less likely to be contagious among the younger people, the young school children. But I do not understand, like Peg, why in the world you go through virtual learning and then you say, okay, we're going to herd you up, put you in a school bus, take you back to a spot, and you get in there and spread the COVID. And then you have a different kind of teaching. I can tell you that in-person teaching is much different from virtual teaching, and I just don't understand where that wacky idea came from.
Well, and one of the things that is going on right this minute is a number of school systems across the state, particularly with the K-3 and the middle grades, have begun returning students back into the classroom. Now, with the raging virus, some of them are rethinking. Wake County, for instance, had 80 new cases in 1 week, and there's doing some rethinking on whether or not to go back to virtual learning, even as we know it's not all that effective. Are our kids going to lose another school year, Peg?
Well, it's entirely possible. I read yesterday that Johnston County and Charlotte-Mecklenburg are going back to virtual because the rate of coronavirus infections is just so fabulous. I mean, it's so not fabulous, it's out of control. And, we don't know that they catch the coronavirus, but what we do know is they could be carriers of the coronavirus, taking that back to the other members of their family, to their adults, to their grandparents. A lot of these kids are in their grandparents' home while their moms and dads are working. So, this is the hard part. There's so much that we don't know. I want our kids to have a good education, but I'd like them to live, and I would like for us to live through this.
Rufus, when the history of this era is written, there obviously will be a lot of sites of people who've lost jobs, the number of people sick, number of people died, those types of things. But I think we're also going to have to note that educationally our children suffered during this period.
There is no question about it, Tom. It's good. And also, the parents have gone through great anxiety over whether or not to have virtual, whether or not to take your children to school. The teachers are all in diverse notions of whether they want to go in class or don't go in class. It's going to be a history of a very difficult time for both students and teachers and parents, and will not be a good history either.
You're right about that. Well, thank you for watching the Afterspin. We'll have more video all during the week on ncspin.com.